Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strelko, joined by Adam Eaton. Welcome in to Sons of UCF Live at our new time, 9 o'clock. Adam, welcome back. We missed you last week, and I'm kind of cold still. It's been a wintry mix across the state of Florida. How you doing up in real North Florida?
We are good. No snow our way, but it's in the low 40s, high 30s here throughout the overnight. But glad to be back. Big thanks to Bailey for minding the ship for us last week, Trace. And something with the hat there. I mean, what do you have heat in the house? What's the situation going on there?
I do have the heat. I do have the heat going, but a little prop right off the top of the show.
Prop off the top.
You called it a fashion statement right before we went on the show. All right. Yeah, when you keep your hair cut short like I do.
No, it's very aerodynamic of you. I love it.
It can be difficult. Hey, we've been introducing you to a lot of the interns, and we've got Matthew Turman behind the scenes working the chat room tonight. You were just talking to him about all the bells and whistles that go into Sons of UCF Live, and he'll be your chat room moderator for the evening.
Yeah, be nice to Matthew. He's monitoring the chat. So all of you heathens out there who like to have fun in the chat, say hi to Matthew. He'll be interacting with everybody tonight, throwing your comments on the screen. So be nice. It's his first time. Next week, you can give him a bunch of crap, but tonight, try to be nice to Matthew. He's a good egg.
Yeah, good egg. It's a good transitional term. We are fortunate I don't know how long we've been doing this show now. Is it January would have been the debut of it, right? Is it 4 years? Is this 5 years?
So technically speaking, we started in December of 2020. So we are coming on that
4+ years. Yeah, 4+ years. We've had hundreds of guests in that time, and difficult news this week. A friend of the program, previous guest, Pete Medhurst, longtime voice of Navy athletics. He joined us to preview that Navy football game, and he passed away just age 55. Adam, there was a diagnosis in November of brain cancer. We saw that on social media, and a lot of guests are enjoyable for us. Pete really popped and stood out. His personality, his demeanor, and long time new listeners and viewers that Robert, 2 letters, 2 words, likes to challenge guests that'll make a donation to their charity if they do something. And let's play a clip of Pete interacting with Robert's challenge.
Well, at our place, the transfer portal is one way out.
Right. So that's impacting what you can do, right? We're competing.
NIL does not right now. NIL at the Naval Academy does not exist. So that's the problem that all the armed services have to deal with. Take the paper off. I read the messages. The Naval Academy is a special place for a reason.
Special place that was graced by the talents of Pete for many years. It was tough news to see that he had passed.
Yeah, Pete was one of the first guests who kind of got the show a little bit, even though it was his first time. And you mentioned Robert's always throwing challenges up there. He was one of the very first guests who actually interacted with that and did something with that and had a good time and didn't miss a beat, pulled the paper down, just kept on going with his answer trace. And it was funny when you sent me that this morning, I was pulling the clip and I was struck by the very top. If you saw, that show was in memory of James Reed, cost seg advisor. It just goes to show you, man, life is so short. The people in your life that are important to you, say hi to them, interact with them, just appreciate who you have in your life because things come so quickly. And it seems crazy that it's already been that long since we lost cost seg and our condolences to Pete and his family. But it just shows you how important it is to stay close to those in your life and how precious life can be. So our condolences again to Pete, to his family. Again, he was a good soldier on our show. We really appreciated him. And, certainly we'll continue to keep him in our thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, and he acknowledged Robert's donation. Robert follows through immediately with the guests who accept those challenges. Thoughts to his wife, Brenda, sons Ryan and Cody, daughter Kelly. And thank you for indulging us for a few moments to talk about a guest that really stood out and that we will remember here on Sons of UCF Live. No easy transition. We mentioned Matthew being a part of the show tonight, a chat room moderator. We've got all sorts of interns. How many did we take on? 5 or 6?
Six.
We lost our minds taking on all of these interns that you're going to get to see in various coverage. Some you've already seen in basketball. one writing for us at sonsofUCF.com, Caitlin Russo, with a feature on offensive coordinator Steve Cooper. That was an interesting insight. She did her research, right? And she went out and she found some people to talk to. I like this quote by University of Maine play-by-play radio announcer Rich Kimball. That is a stop along Steve Cooper's journey. He's pretty cerebral, Kimball says, of Cooper. He looks at the game differently than a lot of coaches do. And so we're going to get to see him in action soon. We have not heard from him or any of the coaches, the new coaches or returners, but interesting profile on Steve Cooper by one of our newest interns, Caitlin Russo.
Yeah, kudos to Caitlin. So if you haven't checked it out, go to sonsofUCF.com. It's the feature article up there now. And listen, candidly, we don't know much about Steve Cooper. He hasn't had a long career, hasn't had a lot of high profile roles. He's been at Maine, Portland State, a cup of coffee at Nebraska. But Caitlin did some research. She went all the way back and found some quarterbacks who played for him at Portland State and talked about the offense and what they taught him. Obviously, his time at Maine, his time with Scott Frost as well. Some statistics in terms of his offensive production. So he's still kind of a relatively unknown to us. But if you want to get to know Steve Cooper, head on over to sonsofUCF.com and check that article out and give us some feedback. Like, let Caitlin know what you like. We're going to keep doing this throughout the rest of the summer. We're going to find more coaches and folks to profile. So let us know what you think. But it's a great first start by our intern Caitlin.
How will the tight end be used in the Scott Frost offense and by Steve Cooper? We've been looking at the position groups. Turnover everywhere. I polled the question, how would you grade 2024 Knights tight ends? I think our fan base is just sour on anything related to 2024. I think B's fair. You mentioned Cost-Seg Advisor. He always had that, would the tight end do something in the offense? And I took the over when we talked about this of 24 and a half. And Randy Pittman came in 32 receptions, 2 touchdowns. I see he's one of the guys that I'm going to miss in the offense this coming season.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about losses to the team this year in portal. Obviously, we talked a little bit about Lee Hunter, but Randy Pittman is probably another big one. You thought he would have a flourishing role in this Scott Frost-led offense, which, in his previous time at UCF did utilize the tight end a little bit. Obviously, he decided to go elsewhere and take his talents up to Tallahassee. So that won't happen. But, I think certainly the tight end will be an interesting fit in Scott Frost's offense. And I'm curious to see how that's kind of interacted and sort of, what that looks like, Trace. We've got the current tight end group here now. A couple of returners and some new names and not a lot of names if you look at the list. I mean, typically you see, 6, 7 tight ends deep, only 4 listed right now. So maybe that's a position that UCF adds to sometime here in the spring transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many new faces in places. Some of these guys like Randy Pittman, it just would have been a nice building block, going into the new season with a new set of coaches.
Yeah, again, he was a dynamic tight end. He was a playmaker. He was good in the run game, good at the blocking scheme as well. But in today's day of college football, he was a commodity, right? He's somebody that other schools coveted as well, and decided to take his talents back up to play with Gus Malzahn one more time. So, we wish Randy the best. But listen, Dylan Wade's a guy who a lot of people are excited about. A local kid, went to Maryland, and is coming back home. Elijah Brown is a giant of a human being. Probably factors into more of that blocking tight end role. A lot of folks are really high on Kylan Fox. He played some receiver for UCF last year, kind of in that hybrid mix. And Grant Stevens is literally from around the corner from where I'm at right now. So I'll always have a little bit of a rooting interest for Grant Stevens. So hopefully some of these young guys get a chance. I think, Scott Frost has proven throughout his time that he'll play the right player. So you never know what we're going to see there, but hopefully we see more tight end in the offense this year.
Does Grant go? Did he go to the high school your daughter goes to?
Right. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes, he did go to the high school my daughter goes. Yes, Nice High School.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought so. Every week when we bring on a guest to talk about Scott Frost, the offense, that position group, I say, boy, I wish this person had some more eligibility and we could see them play again. Let's bring in former UCF tight end Michael Colubiale. Coobs, welcome into Sons of UCF Live. How are you?
He may not be well.
Or he may not be. Your pre-message to Matthew was
you never know
sometimes things happen,
yes,
and we can't control that.
Yes.
All right, we do not have Michael Colubiale.
No, we don't. It's a dark screen right there. Sure is.
We had if you watched last week, Adam, we had Dredrick Snelson, and of course I don't know what they're going to look like. We had audio of Dredrick Snelson, but we had no video, and I'm like, Dredrick, are you there?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'll try to troubleshoot with Michael here. We'll take him off screen. And you and I can banter back and forth.
Yeah, you took you off screen. There you go.
Who needs me?
There you go. Welcome back. You take care of that. But as we're talking about, it's hard to believe when I looked up Coob's bio that he played at UCF 2013 to 2018. Adam, we're in 2025. He's been out of the mix for a while. I am curious if we can get him on the line to discuss with him Scott Frost and
I think we're rocking and rolling now. We got Coobs back.
There he is, Michael Colubiale. Welcome into Sons of UCF Live. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Doing well. So you played at UCF from 2013 to 2018. Michael, it's 2025. You've been gone a while. Does it seem like that? We see you around, right? But has it really been that long?
It doesn't feel that long. I mean, it's hard to imagine I've been out of it longer than I've been in it, than I was in it. But just being a fan, it's been fun. So I'm excited to see how our boy Scott Frost can do this year.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him in a second. Do you like how well received you continue to be by the fan base? That you're just part of that. You're part of that culture that, the Colubiale rule. we got Alec Holler for an extra year. The Colubiale rule.
No, it's interesting, right? Because I was one of the first that I know of the 6-year guys, but now you're seeing guys like 6, 7, 8. I mean 9. The tight end from Miami this year was like 10 years into it, but yeah, it's cool to see. Every time I hear someone coming back for another year, I always log into to X, and I somehow get mentioned on on the UCF Twitter mafia. But it's funny. I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing it and reading it.
That guy from Miami, right? The injury certainly contributed to the length of time he was in school. But can you imagine playing football, college football at mid to late 20s?
Oh man, I mean, if I was getting paid what they're getting paid now, I would probably enjoy it.
What do you think of this proposed 5 and 5 years rule that may be doing away with red shirts and all of these different classifications? And they got 5 years.
5 years. I mean, 5-year running clock. I mean, again, times are kind of changing now with the revenue share and paying these guys. So that's something's got to give. There, and the 105 scholarship thing has got to come into play with that too, because balancing rosters, and you're seeing a lot of general managers getting hired now into the college football space. So it's an interesting concept now, but I wouldn't be against it, but I'd be kind of throwing stones a little bit, because I was I benefited from it a lot. So it's just a different era.
So Coops, take us into your world for a second. Where were you when you heard that Scott Frost was going to be the head coach at UCF, and what was your first reaction when you heard that news?
Oh man, I was actually at the house that I'm renovating now. So I was over there, and my phone just kept getting blown up from my buddies. They're like, "This is actually happening." I'm like, "What?" And then it was just awesome. I mean, it's surreal. We talked about it for a little bit now, and didn't really believe it could happen again in a way. But the stars aligned, and we're over the moon about the hire. Obviously, again, being a little biased for playing for him, and seeing how he can rebuild a program and how he can get the guys to buy in. But just super excited. It's gonna be a fun season again. I think Coach mentioned in his opening presser, like, expecting it to happen, how it did last time, catching lightning in a bottle a little bit. I don't know, but I think with time, he'll get us back to where we need to be.
And we heard you were one of the first guys to actually go and meet him when he got back on campus the second time. What was that interaction like? What did you say to him? What did he say to you when you had a chance to kind of see him?
Yeah, it's funny. Didn't really plan on it, but I was I went to the basketball game. Coach Alan Gooch for the Cure Bowl invited me to the game that day, and so happened I was walking past the building, and Coach Beckton was out there, and he was like, "Hey, come on back. I think Frost will be here." So after the game, I poked my head back in there, and got to see Coach. It was, I looked back and made eye contact with him, and I guess everyone in the athletic department was in there, and he was just preparing to speak to the team. But it was it was funny. It was cool, you know, getting to talk to him and, you know, just reminiscing on some of the times we had at back in 2016 and 2017. And it was just fun. You know, he was just so happy to be here. You can see it all over his face. Like he didn't really think it was real yet, but you know, it was just a cool moment to see him, you know, back in that office and back, you know, wearing the UCF colors again.
You know, another cool moment, he joined the students in the student section at the last basketball game last Saturday. And a lot of Nebraska fans said he just looked comfortable. He looked like he was at home at UCF. Did you get a sense of that relaxed demeanor on his part?
Yeah, I mean, I saw some pictures and videos, you know, on social media, and I did. I mean, it's kind of rejuvenating for him a little bit because you know he did go to his home back in Nebraska, and whether you know he was you know forced to take that job or not, but you know if it felt obligated to take that job, you know, like you know some stuff you've heard, you know, UCF I guess always has felt you know more like home to him and you know his family now just from afar and noticing it and you know going back was you know he was obviously torn on making that decision, but you know I feel like given the circumstances that you know was I guess rumored to be had, you know, he would have been stupid not to take it and you know get the opportunity to go coach his alma mater and you know spend time with his parents again back home in Nebraska. But you know it's just a chance at a second story to turn this thing around and you know finally kind of cement his name you know here longer and hopefully don't leave us again, you know.
Don't leave us again. We've spoken to a lot of former players under Frost, Frederick Snelson, Marlon Williams, and they all speak of culture. What's your take on what Scott Frost means to culture at the UCF program?
You know, like I think you know he's a culture you know keeper and a culture maker, and I don't know if how it went down this time around, but back in 2016, you know, he harped on it a lot, and he had an opportunity actually to set up a one-on-one meeting with you know every single player, you know, from scholarship to walk on, like whoever was on his roster, he was meeting one-on-one. You had to book a time slot, and you know he wanted to you know get to know you on a personal basis, and you know, I think that's how that trust starts. You know, showing that the coach actually is you know caring for you, asking you know about your family, where you know where you're from, what things you like to do. It just builds that trust between player coach, and you know that's one thing that you can tell from 16 to 17 or from 15 to 16. It was just completely different in that building. You walked in, you know, not that Coach O'Leary didn't you know create a good culture or anything, but it was just a change that was needed, you know, within the program. But you know, just the team camaraderie, and then it just grew from 16 to 17, and you obviously saw what happened there.
All right, Coopers, let's talk a little ball for a second. All right, so 2017, you, Jordan Akins, Jordan Franks, as a collective tight end group, had 54 catches.
Whoa.
Since you've left, only the closest we had was 2023, 44 catches. So the tight end has kind of gone away since 2017. Talk to us about the Scott Frost offense and how the tight end is utilized in the system that you remember him running back when you were here.
Yeah, so it was pretty unique as you know. I guess Akins was playing a little bit of that Y position back in 2015, but me, you know, Akins and Franks, you know, we were split out wide in the O'Leary offense. We were running, you know, running routes. We didn't really do a whole lot of blocking unless it was on the perimeter. So, you know, when Frost came in, you know, we're all in that room together again, but you know, putting our hand in the dirt sometimes. So, um, you know, that's sort of what Coach Frost's offense looks like from the tight end, at least what it was when I was playing in it. He wants a guy that can move and split out wide and you know attack a defense down the middle, catch the ball and you know open space and make a move and you know get 10, 15 yards on a yards after catch. But you know one thing that I think as a tight end group from you know 2016 to 2017 that you know me Akins and Franks really grew on was that putting our hand in the dirt and actually you know blocking that defensive end, setting the edge, and you know coming across on an inside split zone and you know knocking the head off of the defensive end. And you know I feel like that's what helped us get you know those more you know bigger plays in the offense and open us up more by you know being more aggressive in the run game and, opening up obviously having a good rushing attack opens up the passing attack. And I think that's one thing that Coach Frost will look for in a tight end, as a versatile guy that's not afraid to stick his nose in and make a block.
Obviously, you transitioned from the O'Leary system, obviously the Frost system. The guys who are on the team now, either transitioning from the Malzahn system or from whatever school they're transferring from these days. What is it like as a player to kind of get used to a new system? What do you have to do when a new coach comes in and you get a new kind of protocol? What are the steps that you should take?
Yeah, obviously going from, 3 different offenses, these next few months are crucial. You're in the film room, every day after workouts. You're meeting with your position coaches. You're meeting with the GAs and analysts, the guys that have been in the Frost offense, and you're just learning everything, offense wise, on the whiteboard, watching film, for when you get a chance to step on the spring ball, you're not missing a step. And you're not walking through the plays. You know what's going to happen beforehand. So just spending these next few months, and obviously in the strength conditioning program, and then also in the classroom, in the office, just like I said, just trying to learn that offense as much as you can. Formations are important, motions are important, signals are important, and that's going to be the most important part these next few months for these guys.
You mentioned strength and conditioning. One of the things that Trace and I have heard every week from Nick Patty to Dredrick Nelson to Jordan Johnson is how crucial Zach Duval was to those teams in 2016, 2017. It hasn't officially been announced, but he's in videos of UCF doing training. So I assume he's back at UCF. What is it about him that made him such a key part of your team in 2016, 2017?
I owe a lot to that guy. He I came in, and I came to UCF. I wasn't the biggest, strongest, or fastest, but it was that era from 15 to 17 is where I kind of I guess grew in my body a little bit. It's those 2-3 years the strongest and fastest I've ever been in my life. And I don't know what it was or what he did, but a lot of the guys can kind of vouch for it. He definitely made us better. Workouts were not easy, but I feel like that's what made the games and practices easier. And Frost obviously leans on him a lot, by hiring him to UCF, and then bringing him to Nebraska with him. And there's a method behind his madness, and I'm sure the guys are having fun these first few weeks in that weight room, because those were the probably the most brutal ones. When he first got there. So he really turns boys to men, and I'm excited to see the conditioning and the speed and strength on those guys improve. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure the guys there know what I'm talking about, how difficult it can be, but you're gonna definitely gain a lot more from it.
I saw a question a second ago from Robert, 2 letters, 2 words. He asked, what was the most challenging part of adapting to Scott Frost's offense? What was the most difficult to learn or adapt to?
Just coming from nowadays it's kind of different because you do a lot of it now, and the no huddle offense in UCF, definitely ran that the past few years, but definitely for me and for us was just trying to play fast. We're a huddle up offense, and we were taking 20-30 seconds between plays and catching our breath, but like I said, that conditioning aspect, and literally you're on the ball the second the play before that's over. You're looking to the sideline, you're getting your signal, you're scrambling to figure out what formation you're supposed to be in, and just reacting and not thinking as much. That was probably the most challenging, but once you get it down, it's like riding a bike, and the guys will probably adapt a lot easier, since they didn't really not do that the year before with Malzahn. So, but Frost definitely plays, in my opinion, a lot faster than Malzahn. So that was one of the more challenging things.
How does this sound to you, quarterbacks coach Mackenzie Milton?
It sounds surreal, because I talked to Mackenzie a good bit, and I got to talk to him a lot when he was at Tennessee, and even before he decided to get into coaching. And you can tell his heart was always in coaching, and UCF was the place he wanted to be. But just a surreal, sound hearing him be the quarterback coach, just from how much he means to the UCF community, UCF football program, and kind of what he helped build. You know, he was obviously a very, very, very important part to those 2 seasons in 2017 and 2018. And, you know, obviously what happened to him was devastating, but, you know, I feel like he's now molding the next generation, and he's going to teach them, you know, everything he knows. He's a UCFer, and that makes it even better for when he's, you know, out here recruiting the next guy.
You mentioned at the outset, renovating a house. What are you up to? What's going on in your world?
You know, kids now. I got a little 2-year-old, like baby girl, Blakely Grace. She just turned 2 on the 1st, and we got another little boy on the way. You know, I work in sales, but yeah, I'm in the process of renovating a house, so that's where the majority of my weekends and nights and, you know, everything has been now, along with, you know, having a terrible 2 toddler running around. But you know, it's fun. You know, we live not too far from Orlando, live in DeLand, so you know, being able to go to a lot of the games still and all that's, you know, the past couple of seasons have been fun. So
well, congratulations on the family news. We know how difficult it is to steal away 15 minutes, and we appreciate you spending it with us on Sons of UCF Live.
Of course, appreciate you guys having me. It was fun. You know, excited to follow along with you guys for the season, and hopefully, like I said, Frost can turn this thing around.
All right. Go Knights.
Go Knights. Charge on.
Thanks,
All right. Thank you, Coobs. Once a night, always a night. We're not always going to be able to say that. They never did quite announce a tight ends coach, right?
They did not, no. Among all the coaches they have not announced, tight ends is one of them. That's correct.
Longtime guy, right? Can you believe that, right? Played 13 to 18, and it's 2025. It just doesn't seem
it's
right.
It's funny. I have to write these all the time, and I'm always like 16 to 9 to them. And I literally typed it, and I was like, is that right? And I literally had to go and Google really quickly just to make sure I didn't miss that. Because, again, I do this all the time, and sometimes it just becomes muscle memory. And so I had to double check that, but it is right. Coobs set a standard for UCF tight ends, and hopefully we'll see a resurgence of that. Again, that stat was 54 receptions as a collective in 2017. The most receptions for any duo, trio, whatever since then was 2023 with 44. So the tight end disappeared under the Heupel system, not really seen very much under the Malzahn system. Hopefully we'll see guys like Kylan Fox and Grant Stevens and Dylan Witt get a chance to show what they can do in the passing game.
Yeah, good times, good conversation. I've enjoyed going down memory lane with a lot of these former players. All right, we go around the Big 12 now with our buddy Jeff Allen.
Oklahoma State was picked as the favorite in the preseason baseball poll by the Big 12 conference coaches. Arizona was picked second and TCU third. UCF, coming off its first NCAA regional appearance since 2017, was picked seventh. Big 12 football media days will take place at the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco, Texas on July 8th and 9th. Look for full coverage from the Suns as they converge upon DFW to cover all the proceedings and load up on barbecue. The men's basketball schedule looks like this for the weekend. On Saturday, number 3 Iowa State, fresh off its blowout win over UCF, travels to Arizona State, 2 o'clock on ESPN+. Colorado takes on Arizona, 3 o'clock on ESPN+. UCF squares off at TCU at Adphi at 4 o'clock on ESPN+. Baylor battles Utah, 4:30 on ESPN2. Number 23 West Virginia visits Kansas State, 6 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Number 12 Kansas hosts number 7 Houston in a top 25 matchup, 6:30 on ESPN. Big 12 After Dark has Cincinnati at BYU, 10:30 on ESPN2. Sunday brings an Oklahoma State versus Texas Tech matchup, 3 o'clock on ESPN+. And looking ahead to a couple of early week matchups next week, Iowa State is at Arizona Monday at 10:30 on ESPN. And on Tuesday night, UCF aims for revenge against Kansas at historic Fog Allen Fieldhouse. That'll be on ESPN+ at 8 p.m. With your Big 12 Minutes, I'm Jeff Allen.
Jeff Allen doing double duty, also hosting, to your point, a new episode coming soon, right?
Yeah, next week, Monday, you will see a next edition of To Your Point with another great panel of guests and contributors and faces and voices and maybe even
people you know.
Yes.
A new edition of the Sons of UCF newsletter out. You're doing a heck of a job with that. Have you subscribed yet, folks? Come on, give a subscription. It's free.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd appreciate all subscriptions. You're meeting the interns if you're following along, getting a basketball update. If you missed any of the content throughout the week, we have that. And every week I try to at least get something new, a new article. This week's slant was on the new Scott Frost. So check out the newsletter. That may go on the website soon as well, too. So, but that's the link there on the screen. It's also on our Twitter account. So check out our newsletter. Make sure you subscribe.
Some talk there about men's basketball. Knights fall to 3-4 in the Big 12. They dropped a game the other night, Iowa State 108-83. We get that recap from our man Andrew Jericho.
Welcome back to your Sons of UCF Men's Basketball Minute. Going into halftime against number 10 ranked Houston, UCF and all its fans felt on top of the world. It's all gone downhill quickly, losing back-to-back Quad 1 matches, most recently to number 3 ranked Iowa State 108-83.
Hats off to them. They played a really good basketball game. I wish we could have played better, but a lot had to do with them. They made us play the way they had us playing. And so, TJ does a great job with his group. He's done a great job ever since he's been here. And, we have to keep on, developing our guys and keep on getting better as we move through conference play.
This 2-game losing streak has certainly hurt the Knights' momentum, but they were against 2 quality opponents, and most importantly, it's still early in the season. Although there's time left, it almost feels like UCF's home game versus TCU Saturday at 4 p.m. feels like a must-win match to avoid the 3-game losing streak. And until next time, thank you for watching your Sons of UCF Men's Basketball Minute.
To quote him, it's been all downhill. Jeez, it's dramatic. Plus the must win. Let's talk about it with our man Ben Hazel. No bow tie, right, Ben? You don't get a bow tie, fans.
You got to earn the bow tie. You got to earn the bow tie.
We got to earn it. It's cold outside. I feel like I'm with the guys. Like we're in the dungeon. We're trying to get it right.
What about Coach Dawkins there? You got to credit to them for what they were doing in reference to Iowa State. I know that's a fair thing to say. I don't know that I'm quite as generous. What about you?
I am, because they're just better than all the other teams. So, they are a complete team. Like, they can score clearly. They're big. They killed us on the glass. They're fast. Like, it's just a complete team. Like, just playing well is not going to do enough to, compete with those guys.
Well, let's go back to the Houston game. That we saw some of that Knights defense that we have grown to know under Coach Dawkins. Of course, the Knights couldn't pull it out. You and I were texting there in that final minute. Oh, a couple of seconds. Take us through the end of that one and what you saw.
Well, as far as the defense is concerned, I'm not really sure if I'm willing to give us the pure nod just because of how bad Houston is offensively, right? Like, they're just not.
It's better than the 108. It was better than
well, that's what I mean. The guys for Iowa State are better talent-wise than the guys at Houston. I mean, from top to finish. We also have to remember, like, they don't even have their best player playing, right? Like, this is Iowa State that's not even fully loaded. So, like, they're extremely talented. It's a completely different animal than even at Kansas. Like, 1 through 5, they have guys that could score. So that's the difference between that game and a Houston. But down the stretch, I mean, you really just – it's something that happens to a lot of freshmen, especially freshmen that get to play a lot down the stretch. And, we just had to be on the losing end of Mustafa just really learning like, I don't know what he was doing when he's trying to go for the steal. Like, he's the biggest guy on the court. The best shot that we want them to take is with you in front of the person as one of the best shot blockers in the conference, in the country. But, I mean, he tried to do something he's pretty much never done. Get a steal on the inbound pass. I don't know if he's recorded one of those all season. And there's only 3.5 seconds left. So it's not one of those like, hey, he's going to catch it and play one-on-one with me. He's got, 2 dribbles from right there. So it was a great play, you know what I mean, by them. So hats off to them. It was a good look, well executed, of course, and just a bad play by Mustafa on that end, just kind of bailing out and going for the steal.
Ben, you talked a couple weeks ago about the on-ball defense of UCF, particularly their guards and pick and rolls. I think the thing I've seen the last two games, and I'm curious your perspective, our transition defense also seems to be struggling. It seems like guys don't know who to pick up. Guys are rotating slow. Guys are kind of flying to the ball, and they're kind of big guys underneath open. What have you seen from UCF's transition defense, and what do they have to do to get better in that pace?
To me, it's really just effort. It's a commitment to the little things, right? So guys not necessarily sprinting to these spots to close these lanes. So what you'll see is all right, a guy, we had 19 turnovers. Guy dribbles to the basket, turns the ball over. I don't want to call any names out, but turns the ball over, kind of jogs back because the guy that he's guarding is near him. But the guy who had it threw the ball up to Keyshawn Gilbert, who is, we saw who he is. And it's like, yo, you have to understand that in transition, you're not necessarily just guarding your man. That's something you practice. Coach Dawkins works on it, since the beginning of time. There's a million drills that they run, transition drills, to work on these kind of things. But you don't guard a man in transition. It has to be a team effort. Like when you talk about Keyshawn Gilbert, when he has the ball in half court, you're always preaching, he needs to see five guys. He needs to see five guys. When he drives, collapse. We need guys digging, all of those things. The same thing holds true in transition, but that's something that guys just kind of miss out on or don't necessarily commit to. It's not necessarily an X's and O's thing. It's more of a style, like an understanding type of thing.
That maybe answers my next question. The opponents are shooting 49% of UCF. That's dead last in the Big 12. So they're giving up the highest percentage of made baskets. Ben, how do you fix this? What are the things that you can do to start trying to get this back on track to get UCF a more stout defensive identity?
I think one thing is we got to stop turning the ball over. That would be the number one culprit that I would say to help us, because it's not even necessarily that it leads to just straight layups, but it leads us to being out of position, guys playing from a step behind, all of the worst things that you saw when you play a really talented team, that they'll still end up beating you by 20, and you scored 83 points, which for us, we're like, whoa, like we did pretty solid offensively, you would think. But the results showed something different, which is we're turning the ball over a ton, and our shot selection doesn't help us. Like we're not getting a lot of assists because besides Darius, we're not really getting anybody that's willing to make plays for others. And that's something that leads to bad shots and runouts with guys completely out of position, and you can't even get the rebound. Like when you saw Iowa State, you're standing next to the guy who's trying to box you out. When you're watching guys play one-on-one, when guys aren't moving, things like that. So for us, I think they're starting to learn that against these good teams, especially, how hand in hand these things can go.
Well, that's my next question, Ben. Help me understand this stat for a second. UCF is second in the Big 12 in offensive rebounds in conference play with 12.9, right? So second overall. They're dead last in rebound margin, -7. How are they second in the conference in offensive rebounds, but dead last in overall total rebounds?
Beating up on the lower teams. That's really what it is. And getting demolished on the glass against all the good teams. That's literally why it's so different, right? Like when we play Arizona State, when we play Texas Tech, everything's good. We're rebounding well. But then when we have Kansas, we have Iowa State, we have Houston, the story is literally completely flipped. I think we're seeing that the Big 12, as far as a talent pool, is not as strong as we thought it was when we talked about, the season layout.
Adam, you mentioned a statistic during Around the Kingdom when UCF, if they had scored 83 points a game or in a game last year, they would have won, what was it, 11 more games?
Yep.
I mean, this is 83 points, Ben, and lose by 25. Darius Johnson left that game early against Iowa State. Post-game, Coach Dawkins said, knocked some knees there. A Friday media availability with him. Knights really need him on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think it was – I haven't talked to him or anything like that, but it didn't look like anything too crazy. It looked like they just banged knees. And, with that travel schedule, them being in Iowa, it's below zero at the time when they're playing. I'm sure, knocking knees after a Houston game where he played a ton of minutes probably just hurt a little more than it probably would, earlier in the season. But I think he'll be all right for that game, fingers crossed, because we definitely need him. We need everybody coming down this stretch.
Andrew Jericho characterized it kind of as a must-win. I know we can get caught up in that term. Knights 3-4 right now. A win would take them to 4-4 before heading on the road to Kansas. I kind of see where Andrew's coming from a little bit. You'd like to get back to 4-4 before you have to head to Lawrence.
Right. I don't know the must win, not must win necessarily vernacular, because they all kind of are must wins, right? Like the way you prepare for it should be that this is a must win. That's starting when the conference started. So I don't think this is anything different, but yes, after losing 2 in a row, you need to win a game. That is for sure.
Quality losses though, right?
I don't know about that either.
Ben, trivia for you. Who leads the Big 12 in 3-point shots attempted since conference play started?
Who leads the Jordan Ivy Curry?
Well, it's UCF in general. So UCF in general is shot the most threes since conference play started. Right. Does that surprise you? And B, is that sustainable?
No, it's not sustainable. It does kind of surprise me, but I do think it's something that the other teams play more to their strengths than we do, right? Like even at Kansas, like they still won't chuck up threes, even when they might fall into that lull. Like you typically don't see the top teams, kind of following that recipe. So, which is weird in this day and age, but I don't think there's really that many pure shooters in the conference, honestly. So I don't think teams are putting an emphasis on it. We just are a team that falls for it a decent amount.
13 games left in the season, Ben. Give me an X factor. Who's a player that you really want to see step up or take a next step if UCF's going to continue to win out in some of these games?
I want to see JJ Taylor make a step forward. I mean, because he's a guy, when I watch him play, it's like he's clearly a gamer. When you talk to the managers and stuff, they're like mind blown at how different he looks from practice versus the game. So clearly he's just a talented guy that knows how to get it done in the bright lights, and he likes the bright lights. You can tell he doesn't shy away from that type of stuff. But you want to start seeing him understand his role and the value that he can bring to the team. And that means, as far as offensive rebounding, there really probably shouldn't be a time where he ever doesn't go try to get the offensive rebound. You come off the bench, and there's no such thing as a selfish rebound. So like that is one specific area he could watch and say, hey, I can actually make an impact by doing just that. I don't even need to score. If I do that, I will play a ton. And he's done it for us in spurts, but his kind of energy level, like you would see out of a young player, is really reliant on the flow he's able to get on the offensive end, which, over time you tend to learn that they don't have to go hand in hand, but that's one specific person that I think can, kind of make that leap, from tomorrow, right? Like we could play TCU and he can show that.
And to your point, he's typically the sort of the top of the spear, if you will, on when UCF goes full court press, right? So clearly they like his athleticism, his length. He has opportunity to kind of get his hands in passing lanes as well. He's also a guy, to me, it seems like, Ben, he feeds his defensive energy, sort of feeds into his offense, right? When he's able to be active defensively, you kind of see him running around, but he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who wants to be sort of half court and pass, pick away kind of stuff. He wants to be in transition, flying around, making plays, and to your point, when he's in those spots, that's when he seems to be at his best.
Yeah, and the thing is again, as a younger player, he doesn't necessarily understand how he can influence the game to be the style that fits him, right? So if I'm a guy that likes to play fast, I'm a 6'7", I'm long, I'm lanky, I'm athletic. I want to get guys moving. I want to be close to guys. I want to be in their space, making them play faster, making them make decisions. When the ball goes up, I'm flying, I'm running to try to get the rebound, then run down the court. Like, a guy that comes off the bench can exude as much energy. It's not necessarily like he's like a starter where you have to manage your energy for a 40-minute game like a Darius. It's like he can go in and just literally be like, all right, I'm going to pick my guy up full court, and I'm just going to run around until coach takes me out.
So the Knights welcome in TCU Saturday at 4:00. How do you assess that matchup for UCF?
I think it's a great matchup for us. I mean, they're not doing too great. So, you know what I mean? Like, if we are who we think we are, I think it's a great matchup for us. Of course, it being at home makes it even more favorable for us. But in this conference, every game's a big game and every game's going to be close. So, we'll see who steps up. But I think this could be a good game for us to get back on track.
You mentioned earlier, JJ, responding to the bright lights. You know who responds well to the bright lights? Ben Hazel. Pre-game show Saturday before that Houston game. How was it?
It was a great time. It was actually fun. So I felt so well prepared once it started, just because I'm used to chopping it up about the basketball team with my boys here. Wasn't the same though, talking to one of the students, but it was definitely a ton of fun. It was a learning experience for everybody involved. But I think they're going to do it again, and hopefully they'll have me back, and it's hopefully the first of many.
Ben, do we have a catchphrase yet? Have you worked on the catchphrase?
No,
tell me about you need a catchphrase. No dipsy do dunkaroo. I got nothing yet so far.
I got nothing right now.
Oh, man,
See, the thing is that they got me on the girls' games right now.
Okay.
And the girls' games are a ton of fun, but they're in a tough stretch. So I need them to give me a little more fireworks, and then I'm a toy with some things.
Okay.
You have an opportunity to work on some phrases though during those women's basketball games, right?
Yeah. They're typically just out of the wazoo Bill Walton style type drops, not so into the action.
All right, Ben. Thanks for being with us again this week on Sons of UCF Live. Stay warm out there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying. You too.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben. I like Ben's jacket there, but I do prefer when he has the bow tie.
You got to earn the bow tie. I mean, Ben's just not going to give you the bow tie for no reason. Obviously, 2 straight losses. Maybe he gives you the bow tie after Houston if we didn't have that game. Maybe a moral victory. I don't think he's that kind of guy though. But you got to earn the bow tie. And I got to
earn the bow tie.
I don't know if Johnny's listening, Mustafa, JJ, but you guys got to earn the bow tie. That's all I can tell you.
You and I, we are in different environments for interviews. I'm in a lot of post games, and it's quick questions, and media day. You get 5 minutes with a guy, and I'll tell you what, I give you a lot of credit. You spent an hour plus with Quadric Bullard. I don't think if you totaled all of Quadric Bullard up at the podium, that it would total what you had opportunity. But that guy loves the game of football, loves being a UCF Knight. He is certainly a once a night, always a night.
Yeah, I was struck by that, Trace. I mean, he spent 5 years at UCF, and he talked a lot about how he thought about transferring, thought he was going to leave, and was kind of like, why would I do that? Why would I leave this place that's been so good to me as well? And he listened to the whole interview, which is on YouTube now. It's also wherever you get your podcast. He had some adversity early on. He talked about 5 a.m. and something called some sort of a punishment that he had to do. I don't want to spoil for everybody that it revolves him running around in the field house at 5 a.m. But I obviously had a lot of questions about the last season he went through. And so here's a bit of a back and forth between me and Quad, particularly about quarterback KJ Jefferson. What was your reaction, when you found out that KJ wasn't going to be starting and was essentially going to be benched for the rest of the season?
I wasn't surprised, really. I mean, like I said, it's a business. If you're not getting a job done, they're going to find somebody who can. And it's better that he experienced this now rather than get to the NFL and, get there and then be used to people just, giving him the spot. And he gets there, they give him the spot, and he's doing bad, and then he snatch him. And he's like, well, why I took my spot?
Right. Were you surprised that, he seemed to struggle a little bit early in the season, Quad. Were you surprised, and you saw him in practice, were you surprised that maybe how he was playing or how he's performing based on what you thought you knew of him from his time at Arkansas?
Yeah, I kind of was surprised because, from practice alone, he was a great quarterback. He was able to read keys, find his holes and things like that. And then it came to the game, and it looked like it transferred over.
How many defensive coordinators did Quad play under? So there was.
Do you count Addison twice?
Addison Williams,
Travis Williams,
Roof,
Addison Williams, Ted Roof, and then back to Addison Williams. So
it's a lot of change for him. A full interview right now on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Great job by you. An hour plus. I don't know how you do it, but you pull it off with guest after guest.
It's a lot of fun. We ask a lot of questions. We have a good time and learn some fun stuff. A lot of people, I did ask about Kissgate. So if you want more insight on Kissgate, Quadric gives you that as well in the conversation. So check out YouTube, check out podcast.
It's a gate now.
I thought you called it Kissgate, didn't you? Well, you called him the Kissing
I refer
Bandit.
to him as the Kissing Bandit.
Yeah. I'm going to go Kissgate for right now.
Yeah, Kissgate. All right, let's take a look at some news and notes.
Dellin, Debo, Coleman, let's go around the kingdom.
He's showing you something.
I got Debo. I owe an apology. I do owe Debo an apology.
Women's basketball drops their 8th straight, 72-58 to number 24, Oklahoma State, now 0-7 in the Big 12. Up next, no easier. They are on the road at Iowa State. Men didn't fare particularly well in Ames. Women there Saturday, then they welcome in Number 25, Baylor, because a lot of the teams in this league are ranked in the top 25. You heard it, Jeff Allen mention it, Big 12 baseball projections. UCF picks 7th. Pitchers Dom Stagliano and Dominic Castellano named to the preseason all Big 12 team. They're certainly going to need those guys. Scrimmages Friday, Saturday, and Sunday out at the park, and practice open to the public for those. So if you can deal with some cold, you'll have a chance to see this new look baseball team. Not too far away, media day and the opener coming up. So we're getting close to baseball. I know our interns that will be covering it, and Michael, Emptiness 4, he is very excited about the start of the season. And you also heard Jeff Allen mention Big 12 Media Days. I want to get your reaction at the Star in Dallas, right there by Jerry's World. What do you think?
Listen, I may or may not have been doing some research. Here's the problem. If I go to the Star,
this is like 5 minutes from Robert's house.
If I go to the Star and Brian Schottenheimer is my head coach, I'm going to have a big problem, Trace. So that's all I can tell you right now.
Brace yourself. That's coming up July 8th and 9th. You heard Jeff say a contingent from the Suns. That's the plan?
I did not know. Yeah, Jeff and I have not had any conversation about that. We have not had any talk through that, but certainly we enjoyed our time last year in Vegas on Big 12 Media Day. We're efforting to do something very similar this year as well. So stay tuned as we get closer. We'll keep you up to date, but obviously we'd love to continue to find ways to bring you more coverage and be able to be out there at Big 12 Media Day.
Yeah, we've got all sorts of shows. Another Around the Kingdom. Eric Lopez and I chopping it up, talking football, men's basketball, and this particular topic.
The Houston game, that was a cool moment to see him, because I didn't see it coming. You know, you thought, it's going to be the traditional, hey, go the courtside wave and all that. I thought that was cool. The crowd ate it up. It was fantastic. I'm not sure. I know this. I don't think there's another UCF football coach ever that would have done that other than Scott Frost. I'm not sure there's many UCF coaches, period, that would have done that. I think Greg Lovelady would have. Your buddy, he would have done that as the baseball coach. Maybe Bear might have been talked into it, but the list is very small. I'm curious what you think there.
Elo, always with the strays. Your buddy, Greg Lovelady. People like you, Trey. He's always getting a little zing.
You and Greg seem close. I don't know.
Well, not
you
not
guys
lately.
seem friendly.
Not lately. We were for a while.
It happens. It happens.
ATK now on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. You also find the latest edition of the Pegasus podcast up there as well. And you made some news today on Sons Twitter, back with Alumni Hall for another season, huh?
Yeah, excited about this. I had a chance to talk to the folks at Alumni Hall, and we're going to continue our partnership. Some new stuff we're going to kind of drum up for everybody here in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for us. But here's the thing that I've always said about what we do here, Trace, is we want to give back to the people that support us. But we also want to work with people that have the same like-minded thought process around UCF as us. And Alumni Hall, I was struck by my call with them the other day. They strive to make sure that they are authentic to UCF. They don't want to seem like a cookie cutter store. They want to have things that are authentic to UCF. They want to connect with the fan base, and they really strive to find ways to do that. So not only that, but they have great stuff as always. One of these shirts actually from Alumni Hall, 2 for $38 at all times. So glad to be back with Alumni Hall. Again, more stuff coming up. We've done giveaways, we've done gift cards, we've done space jerseys. So we'll see what's coming up next year, but really excited about being back with Alumni Hall.
I don't think there's any way you can go in there and not walk away with a lighter wallet.
It's a money trap. Right? It's an absolute money trap.
Like if you don't want to drop some money,
just don't go in. Yeah, just
don't go in, because you're going to go in, you're going to see something that you haven't seen anywhere before, and you're going to want to have that item.
Yeah, the selection of merchandise is incredible. The variation they have, they turn stuff around quickly. If you want everything from car magnets to throw blankets to drinkware to shirts, I mean, literally everything you could think of the UCF logo is in Alumni Hall. So it's a money pit for sure. If you've got money to burn, go check out our good friends at Alumni Hall.
Well, it is that time again for the mail.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
This will be the only way we see Brian W. Peterson until after tax. Right.
Yeah, he's quiet these days. Yeah, even we have a group
Very
chat
quiet.
going. He's very rarely in there. He had a Wendy's rant the other day, which was kind of awkward. He was also the only one I found that liked the basketball pinstripe jerseys that Brendan Hellwood posted. So outside of that, though, Brian is knee deep in his spreadsheet. So Godspeed to you, Brian. Check out PetersonAccountingCPA.com if you want tax advice from Brian Peterson. And why wouldn't you, by the way?
Why wouldn't you? Before we get going on the mail, a shout out to Jan and Britt watching. Jan just sent me a photo. They've both been under the weather for a couple of days, a little bit of food poisoning, and Britt home now. Everybody doing better. A little bit of a climb out of that one. So hello, Jan. Hello, Britt. Thank you for watching. Glad you're feeling better. All right, at UCF Knights win. Memorizing the football roster is going to be fun this year. 60 new people, right? How are you with that? Are you good with names and numbers? See, when I'm posting on Twitter, I also have to remember the player's handle, and I find that difficult after a while. That's going to be really hard. I mean, I finally got the ones that, last year, but I'm not so good with remembering them off the top of my head all the time.
The Twitter handles are tough. I'm not going to lie to you. There are sometimes I go to tag a player and I'm like, wait, what? How is that your handle? I have a quasi photographic memory of these things. So I can usually see a roster one time. And, if you throw me a number right now, I may be able to tell you who had that number last year at UCF. I'm just kind of weird like that. So I think I'll be okay. But listen, it's like waking up from a coma and you got a brand new team to root for and they're wearing the same laundry you root for. So we might as well have some fun with it.
It's like waking up from a coma. At Emptiness 4, Michael, if Coach Frost's first year is 5-7, but 3 of those wins are in the Big 12 games. Is it a successful restart and cause for optimism? I do think he points to something. It is who UCF beats. Yes. If your win is over North Carolina A&T and not over North Carolina, not as impressive as, well, not the reverse, but you want to get that North Carolina win. But I do see his point on the Big 12 wins. And not a lot of expectations. We talked about the Heartland College sports, 15 out of 16. How bad is Arizona? But hey, when you're picked low, you could end up in the Big 12 championship game. Ask Arizona State. So I think it is who UCF wins, assuming some wins.
The most wins we had in a season in the Big 12 is 3. Is that right? In Gus's first year in 2023. So yeah, I think if you match that or best that, I also think it's important. And I don't want to be this guy, but nuance is important here. How you play. And are you in these games? And are you competitive? There are some games,
interesting. You see some potential
the last couple of years where it was over by halftime, and we were just kind of hoping something fluky would happen. So, are you in these games? Are you playing tough? Are you one play away kind of thing? I think that's also important. But if you told me that was the record and that was the result, I think that would be a success in year one for Frost.
At Riley Carey 16, do you think the NFL has the worst officiating in all of sports? I think it's inconsistent in all sports.
Yeah, look, which sport is killing it with officiating? I mean, Major League umpires.
Baseball, they're bringing in robots.
Are a disgrace. Going to start on college basketball. The NBA is a shell of itself these days. College football can be inconsistent. Every sport, unfortunately, has some areas of opportunity when it comes to officiating. I think where the NFL gets a little bit out of line is it seems to be the marquee games, the marquee teams that
the marquee players
that you often say, hey, they get the calls. And I think that's a tough look for the NFL. So we'll see what happens this week. Chiefs, Bills, that'll be interesting. Who gets what call?
Once the Chiefs going for a three-peat, is that the story? I mean, people are going to watch the Super Bowl no matter what, but do you think they want that Chief?
It depends who you. I mean,
Taylor Swift in there,
yes,
right?
Yes. If you want the casual fan, you want Mahomes, Kelsey, Taylor Swift. Those are the names right? But hardcore fans, I think everybody. I don't know. I think everybody, unless you're a fan of the team, although it would be a terrible Super Bowl, I think a lot of people are looking for Bills Commanders, right? Because I don't think anybody likes the Eagles, or maybe that's just me. And nobody likes the Chiefs because nobody wants to see somebody win so much. So I think that's probably what most of people are rooting for, unless you're a hardcore Kansas City fan or you're just a kind of a casual NFL fan.
Of the multiple nicknames by the Washington team over the years, which is your favorite? See, I like Washington Football Club more than Commanders, but I do like the Commanders uniforms. I like the color combo.
You know what? I got into a habit of calling them the commies. I don't know if that's offensive or not, but I got in the habit of calling them the commies, and that's what I've been calling them, actually.
Is that politically correct?
I don't know. I don't even know.
Did Ben Hazel refer to the women's basketball team as girls basketball?
I didn't hear that. I
didn't hear it twice?
No, I didn't hear that. He would be coaching that team soon enough if things are going this way, Trace.
At Dr. Snap and Pop, how long before UCF goes from the sleeping giant, the future of college football, to finally awaken a consistent winner? Is that possible? I do not believe it is possible, because I do not believe UCF will ever have as much or more money. I think they're going to have to play money ball, and that can be difficult to sustain year over year. So
Yeah.
I do not believe anytime soon that, when you look at what Ohio State paid for its championship winning roster, this is not where UCF is going to be.
I mean, the only chance you have with that, if you look at Ohio State, a lot of their talent that they quote unquote paid that $20 million to is returning talent. If UCF can find a way to get talent into the roster, and Scott Frost was very upfront in his press conference, he wants to spend the money on the guys who want to be here and the guys who contribute to this team. If you get kind of lucky with a recruiting class and a couple of guys who are really good and you can pay those, maybe you can stack a couple of years and grab some market share. But again, let us all not forget. I mean, most of these schools have a 50-year head start on UCF, so we're always going to be playing a little bit behind just from a time perspective.
And Love Not War 311 says, I heard if you wanted, RJ Harvey technically has another year of eligibility. Is that true? Have you heard that?
I have not heard
he says,
that.
I know it's highly unlikely, but do you think it would benefit him to come back? No. No.
I've been telling people, I thought Dylan Gabriel had another year left. Right, do the math with me.
He did a swan song on Twitter.
I saw that earlier.
Always a dog.
Yeah, he's freshman year was 19. COVID 20 doesn't count. 21 medical redshirt. 22 Oklahoma. 23 Oklahoma. 23 Oregon. Doesn't he have like a grad year left? Like, and that's my math. And here's my fingers in case you guys can see them on the screen. I think he has another year left.
How many fingers did you get?
I got to 7. Yeah. 2 years didn't count. He played actual 4 years, and I think he gets a grad year. But either way, no. I think at some point in time,
trust me, if he had that one more year, he'd be coming back and changing schools. So
you age out at some point. Yes.
Yeah. At Charge on Sports, do you feel UCF is headed in the right direction? Men's basketball. Thoughts on making the tournament? You're talking to the wrong guy. I'm a supporter of Johnny Dawkins and the success that I believe he provides UCF, and so tournament. I still think it's 10 wins or bust. I think if they get to the 10, I know sometimes it's who the 10 are, but you heard Ben say it, not buying into the must win. I kind of think we talked about it on Around the Kingdom. 3-5, 3-game losing streak, going to Kansas. 4-4, snapping that losing streak. I don't know. I just feel better about it. I just want him to tread water.
Yeah, look, if we talk about basketball or football, rather, being disadvantaged financially, I mean, Johnny's got one hand tied behind his back, and he's still putting together rosters that are at least serviceable year over year. So you got to tip your cap to him for that. He's finding guys who can come in and play. Is there going to be a time when you put it all together? Who knows? But I don't think this is a Johnny problem as much as it's just where we are in college basketball, where the rosters are fluid every single year. In some respects, you got to acknowledge the fact that, look, I'm not trying to be mean to anybody here, but women's basketball hasn't found a way to replenish their roster year over year. Men's basketball has, right? So, I mean, it's one of those situations where you at least got to give Johnny the credit for finding ways to keep his teams competitive, even though, again, he's probably got one arm tied behind his back.
At Golden Knight _2, seeing the new 12-team playoff, do you think it was an improvement? What would be something you would change? It features a champion that might not have made the old format, right? And a title game that wouldn't have included those two teams, right? Wouldn't have been in that top 4. We talked about it Around the Kingdom. I liked the home games on the college campuses. I thought the environment was great. I do not support shoehorning it into Fiesta Peach, whatever they call those bowl games. I don't believe that. And I think it needs to end on New Year's Day. The ratings down on the Monday night championship game. I think no doubt Ohio State jumping out to a sizable lead there after half contributed to that. But to me, it's NFL time. And I think, crying out loud, it's almost February. I mean, college football started in August. To me, it's a fall sport. And wind it up in December and conclude it on January.
Look, I'm not going to steal his thunder, but we recorded an episode of To Your Point with UCF Mike. This question was asked loosely. Mike has a really interesting, it's actually really interesting, Mike's perspective and his idea on this. I don't want to steal this from him, so I will plug on Monday. To Your Point will come out. UCF Mike has an interesting perspective on what to do with this playoff that actually almost changed Eric Lopez's mind. Eric Lopez was like, whoa, wait a minute. That's interesting. So that's all I'll tease you with. Mike actually almost influenced Eric Lopez to change his mind on something.
A late ad from Kevin, by the way, another question from Dr. Snap and Pop, who, by the way, commented on my walk and talk with the cows at the block party, who he said, looks like Trace rolls deep. I love that. And is well connected. They was not staged. They just wandered into the shot. But Dr. Snap and Pop asks, any chance with Big 12 money coming in, other streams of money, can we get our football facilities to be on par with the top dogs of the Big 12 over time? I think we're due for an upgrade. Facilities need upgrades all over the place. So, back to that, schools with a big advantage time-wise have a big advantage legacy-wise and a lot of dollars that come into them. UCF will always be fighting that battle too.
Yeah, I was told today by somebody I trust that since Frost's hire, money has been flowing into UCF. So what that means from a dollars perspective, I don't know, but money has been flowing in at a level that has a lot of people surprised at how much it is. Now, how they use that or what that looks like, that I can't tell you, but there's people out there that are excited about UCF. And look, the other thing I will tell you is there are people who donate money that you don't sometimes know about. Not everybody gets.
They don't have their names on things.
Not everybody gets that cool graphic, right? Not everybody wants that
to
stuff
be in the locker
there, right?
room kissing players.
No, that's not always out there. So I think there's there's money coming in. How much, and is it comparable to other schools? I can't tell you that. How it's going to be used, I can't tell you that. But money's flowing into UCF.
10-12 network on Blue Sky. What are you more excited about? UCF baseball or UCF softball? Both is the correct answer, but I'd say UCF baseball because there's going to be so much turnover on the softball roster. 11 players that we've got to know very well over the years have moved on, have graduated, and a whole new crop of players. We'll get to learn more about them from Eric Lopez. And hey, we've got a new intern, and
another one.
Yeah, we'll be covering softball for us, and expected out at FanFest on Sunday. So, what about you? Which one are you most excited about?
I can't wait to meet these interns. Look, you stole my
You
answer.
haven't. No, wait. Have you met any? No, we met him at the.
I met him all, yes.
For sure. Yeah.
No, with all due respect to Eric Lopez, I actually have baseball too as my answer because I do think this. They had a really good season last year. I'm excited about what Rich Wallace can do, and so yeah, I think I'm going to give baseball the nod this year. I think softball may be in a bit of a rebuilding mode, which is fine. That could be fun too, but I'm probably keeping an eye on baseball more so this year than I have in a long time.
Brian W. Peterson must be very busy. He didn't submit a question to his own mailbag segment this week, but we thank you for.
Should we do a check on him? Proof of life?
Wellness check. All right. What is in the box, Adam?
It's a great question. Now brought to you by our good friends at Alumni Hall. As you can see here, they have their own box now, Alumni Hall. That may look like a Nike box. No, don't fool yourself. That's an Alumni Hall box, friends.
Are there colors? Orange? Is that part of their colors?
No, it's gold, black and gold right here. Alumni Hall. There you go. Okay. Check their store out, 4100 Alafaya Trail.
Have you retired the other box? Pending a sponsorship renewal?
Oh, Trace, here we are.
Oh, here. Trace.
Have you ever faked being sick to call out for work?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know because sorry, Jan and Britt. Oh, goodness, I can jinx myself, but I don't really get sick.
I didn't. This is faking sick. So this is you saying, sorry, Mr. McGillicuddy, I can't make it in today.
I mean, it'd be hard for me to say never, but a particular time does not come to mind.
Never fake sick. Never.
And I'm the boss now, so I don't have that problem now. I don't,
Never any excuse to get out of work that maybe was less than truthful.
Well, all right. Now that all right. So
talk to me. Talk to me, friends.
All right. This is a terrible. This whole story is terrible.
Talk to me.
This whole story is terrible. So I'm on TV. I'm working in the Huntsville, Alabama television market. Had family come to town. We're over somewhere in Tennessee, and we're going down these. It's some attraction, and we're going down these slides. And I get into a little competitive. Where you're on a track kind of thing, and it's on a cement kind of slide. I don't know how to describe it. Down a slide, right?
Okay.
And I challenge my sister, and the attendant says, well, you can't go too fast around the curves. Well, I want to beat her down the mountain on the slide, and I went too fast around the curves, and I flipped, and I landed on my face, which, as you might imagine, is painful, and it's my livelihood, especially at that time. Right? But there's no way when you're job is to be on television. You can go in with skinned arms and a skinned face. And so I said, and I want to explain that I was racing my sister on a slide. So I said that I was hiking and I lost my balance and slid down a mountain because I thought that was more dramatic.
Yeah.
So that was exaggerated. I was off the air for a week and was behind the scenes reporting, but I couldn't be on the air because I looked,
And the truth, this is how I get Quadric Bullard for an hour, Trey. And just keep asking questions until they tell you what you want to hear. It's very clear. Robert wants to know if there's a photo. Is there a post photo?
Yeah, there is a photo. I don't know where that photo is, but there is a photo of my disfigurement.
I feel like I need Mario to give me to me, and maybe I'm typecasting here, so I apologize, Mario. I feel like he would be a guy who's got some good "I'm not coming to work" excuse stories. I once had an employee, and I won't tell you what they told me, but it was so outlandish that I couldn't ask a follow-up. Like what I was told on that phone, I was like, I want no part of hearing anything more about what you're telling me. So you take the day off of work. And at that point, I realized the strategy is as follows, Trace. You've got to be very specific and maybe somewhat graphic, or be very vague. It's one of those two. You can't go, I have a cough today. You got to go, hey, listen, boss, thumbs up. I can't make it in today. Where you feel you don't want to ask a follow-up question because you're not sure what it is, or you got to be so graphic that you're like, you know what, dude, take the day. That's fine. It's one of those two options right there.
So at my employer, we have a call-in hotline if you're going to be out. And I'm surprised, to your point, those that are vague and those that are way too specific. I did not need to know.
Yep.
I don't need to know all of that.
Nope.
You don't need to tell me all of that. I worked with a guy in Huntsville, our sports guy, and every time he called in sick with a different reason. So we kept a list. My favorite was when he called in sick and he said that he was dizzy with vertigo-like symptoms. He claimed to have vertigo.
Wow.
I worked with a reporter so how about this policy? When I worked in Gainesville, we had unlimited sick time policy, except during ratings months. And then if you were out even one day, you needed to have a doctor's note. So a pattern developed with this one reporter where she would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. She'd call out sick Friday. So she had Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The next week she'd work 5 days. And then always it would be the call in sick Monday. So every other week she was getting a 3. By the way, she was the health reporter, but she was always healthy during ratings months because she didn't want to have to go to the doctor to get a note for her days off. But she built a lot. There's 4 ratings months. So there were 8 months where she had 2 or more 3-day weekends every month with illness on Friday or Monday.
I'd like to point out we started this segment with Trey saying, I've got nothing for you. And 8 minutes later, we have learned about he's throwing all his colleagues under the bus, by the way. Everybody who's working with Trace right now is like, crap, I'm about to get thrown under the bus here on Sons of UCF Live. All of you are listening. And so that's how this works, Trace.
Yeah. How did Matthew do behind the scenes today? I saw comments coming on screen.
Listen, I mean, I think he did a great job. I saw some good comments. I saw Robert was kind of a little bullyish in the chat, like make sure all my comments get on air. Did see a large number of Robert comments. And so you saw some good stuff there. I took a few over really quickly because they were funny and I wanted to make sure we saw them on screen. But for his first time hitting the comments with all these crazy people, I give the kid a B plus even. B
plus. Matthew, I don't know how you are with that B plus grade, but
I'm a tough grader. I'm a firm grader. I mean, we got on the curve too, by the way.
So. Are we priming Matthew to run the show? Is that are you planning more time off, Adam?
I listen. When the real job calls, I've got to go running. But at some point, yeah, I think all of our interns, which is cool, they all have a little bit different of a professional slant that they're working on. Matthew is one that's more interested in kind of building things and strategy and design. So maybe one day he'll hit the button.
Graphics, social media.
Yeah. If you don't know, Matthew also runs the UCF Report account on Instagram. So if you haven't already, follow him there as well. So yeah, maybe one day he'll hit the buttons. I don't know if he's up for that. He's messaging now that he likes that he got a B plus. It leaves him room to improve. So what an overachiever, Matthew.
There you go.
Also a big Barry Odom fan, by the way.
Yeah, big Barry Odom. You may remember Matthew from his on-air appearance, advocating for Barry Odom and the academics that he brings to the university. I want to thank Michael Colubiale. We miss Coobs. Glad to have him here on Sons Live as well. Ben Hazel. Glad to have you back, Adam. We will see you all again next week on Sons of UCF Live. For Adam Eaton, I'm Trace Strelko. Go Knights!
John.
Hi, I'm Coach Bear, and thanks for watching the Sons of UCF.
Best this weekend out at the softball complex.
Is this the dinner thing where you can pay $1 million to have dinner with Eric Lopez?
No, I'd rather just grab lunch with Eric for free, but I do support the softball program, raising money. So.